Talking about a true crime story now, which is impossible to believe.
Honestly, this has shocked me. So, back in 2010, an American family adopted 7-year-old Natalia Grace. However, they soon began to suspect that she actually wasn't a child at all, but an adult with dwarfism who wanted to cause them harm.
Today, Disney Plus have released a new drama, and it is a drama, Good American Family, which is based on the case. But to help us get to the truth, our resident criminologist, David Wilson, is here now. Hello, David.
Lovely to see you both.
This is one of the strangest cases we've ever had you on to talk about.
You know that old adage, the truth is stranger than fiction? This story demonstrates that. It's got more twists and turns than a B road in the Highlands. Ultimately, it's a story that's going to shock, amaze, horrify, and ultimately, it made me very angry.
OK, I mean, I can't wait to get stuck into watching this tonight. But where does it all begin? How did Natalia end up with the Barnett family?
OK, so Natalia was born in the Ukraine in 2003. Her mother gives her up for adoption to a family in the United States. Her mother, Anna Gava, wanted Natalia to have a better life because she suffers from a rare form of dwarfism, which is called SDC. Actually, it's the same form of dwarfism that the British actors Warwick Davis and Lenny Rush have. But effectively, Anna Gava thinks her daughter will have a better life in the United States, so she goes to the United States with one family. That family ultimately give her up for adoption once she reaches the United States, and that's when she comes into contact with the Barnetts in 2010.
So the family she goes to originally, they also give her up for adoption?
Very quickly.
Right.
And we don't know very much about that family, but she ends up in 2010 with the Barnetts, Christine and Michael
This is
Barnett.
Christine and Michael. And why did they want to adopt? They had kids of their own, didn't they?
They did. They had 3 boys. The oldest boy has autism. The mother, Christine, writes a book about raising that son, and it's called The Spark, for example. They had 3 boys, so effectively they thought a girl would add to the quality of the family experience, the quality of the family life. They are the Good American Family. That's the basis of the title of the drama, and that's really how they come into contact with the Barnetts. But very, very quickly, everything is going to go out of control, and according to Michael Barnett, even on the very first day they adopt Natalia, there are issues that make them believe that, in fact, she's not a young girl, that she's an adult. And Michael Barnett came on this programme to talk about it. And here's what he had to say.
That very first night, when Christine was giving our new daughter a bath, you know, she shouted to me, "Michael," and it wasn't just a shout, it was one of those tones of voice where you knew something was very wrong. I came rushing into the bathroom, and I found Christine white as a ghost. She was truly shaken. I had no idea why. And I said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And Christine simply said, "Look." And I looked down, and Natalia had full pubic hair. And she and I were absolutely stunned, and now we're very concerned and very worried. Is she older?
But that seems a very quick thing to jump. That's 0 to 100 there, just based on one thing that they've seen. Now they're saying, is she older than we thought?
Well, in fact, anybody that's interested in criminology or forensic psychology, he's lying through his teeth in that interview, but it gets worse. He not only claims that she has full pubic hair and is menstruating, he also claims that Natalia is trying to assault the children, trying to harm his wife at that time, Christine. And we've got another clip where he alleges even more things against Natalia whilst on This Morning.
The first steps were smaller. She would put thumbtacks face up on our stairs. So when we would walk up and down stairs, we would be stepping on thumbtacks. Certain things would start to become missing in the home. We would find knives under her bed. And then after a short time, there was a moment when I woke up in the middle of the night and Natalia was standing over my bed with a knife in her hand, very blank look on her face, and she's just standing there with a knife. Shortly thereafter, she began to attempt to harm my sons in a very serious manner.
Now, I should say, I started by saying truth is stranger than fiction. All of this that we've just heard is actually the plot of a genuine Hollywood movie called Orphan.
The horror film.
The horror film, the slasher film that
Yes.
comes out in 2009, which is about a Russian orphan that's adopted by an American family. And that orphan in that movie is, in fact, an adult. So they've stolen the plot from Orphan and claimed this is what is happening within their family.
We have to stress, and you'll know this being a criminologist, that they haven't been found guilty of anything, have they, the Barnetts? And we reached out to them and we couldn't get in touch with them for comment. But let's move on to, like, what Natalia said, because Natalia's always denied these.
She absolutely has. And you must also, I think, appreciate that there is prejudice against people who suffer from dwarfism. And I think that contributed to why some people didn't quite believe her story. But she's always denied everything that the Barnetts have said. And in fact, there's an interview with Natalia that I'd like to show you where she denies everything that the Barnetts have claimed.
They say that you scammed them, that you lied about your age and came over here and terrorized them.
It's not true at all.
You say you're 16. Are you a 33-year-old scam artist?
No. No. No, I promise you I'm not.
Oh, that hits harder when you see that little tear down her face. She is still a child trying to deal with this.
And Sian, compare that interview on Dr. Phil, you know, one of the iconic TV series in the United States. Compare that interview and how she reacts to the interview that we had previously seen from Michael Barnett. But Natalia, therefore, is now claiming that she's the one that faced an abuse, as opposed to, in fact, she was trying to abuse the Barnetts. Natalia's now been describing the abuse that she herself faced.
So how on earth are the Barnett family allowed to legally change her age from 8 to 22? How does that happen?
Now, this is a key turning point. This is one of the twists and turns that people have got to get their heads around. The Barnetts were able to get a family doctor, their family doctor, to agree with them that Natalia must be older than her Ukrainian birth certificate
Without tests?
Claims. No test.
Oh, so it wasn't like a DNA test?
No. This was just a test that they took her to the doctor. The doctor knew them and said, yeah, she's older than her birth certificate. That allowed the Barnetts to legally change Natalia's age. They were able to say that she wasn't 7 or 8. She was, in fact, 23. And therefore, legally in the United States at that time, Natalia, in 2011, this stage, was a 23-year-old young woman.
And then they leave her, right?
Yeah, because don't they then get her to move out the house and go into her own apartment?
They absolutely do. They therefore abandon Natalia.
Who's 9.
Who at that stage was 8 or 9. She initially in one bungalow, and then they move her from the bungalow into a second-floor apartment in Lafayette in Indiana. So she's an 8-year-old living by herself. And she also got asked by Dr. Phil what it was like to live by herself in Lafayette.
You're getting your own groceries.
I actually didn't even go grocery shopping. My landlord took me to, it was like a gas station or something just to pick up a couple things.
Well, where'd you get your food?
The Barnetts, they had given me, food that they didn't really eat, like canned foods and stuff like that. They just said, we're going to get you an apartment and we're going to Canada.
Did you say, I'm 8?
I didn't know what to say. I didn't really know what was going on at first until, after it happened. I was confused.
Were you scared?
I was.
That would be so hard. I couldn't look after myself at 9 years old on my own in a flat. So at this point, the family have convinced, whoever, legally that she's older, but then there's a genuine DNA test, right?
Yeah, so ultimately, prior to this drama series that's hitting Disney tonight called Good American Family, there was a documentary series called The Curious Case of Natalia Grace. And in that documentary series, there is a definitive DNA diagnostic test to establish Natalia's age. Now, here's the truth. Let's watch this particular clip.
Thanks for coming to the lab. Want to take a look at the results?
Yes.
All right. based off of all the studies and everything being analyzed, you're more closer to 22, which is pretty close to what you think you're almost 20. That's within 2 years.
Wow.
This one little piece of paper throws every single lie that the Barnetts has said right into the trash with a match.
It's
So she was a child.
unbelievable.
So she was abandoned by the Barnetts when she was 8, by herself, to live in herself in a second-floor apartment. Remember, she has dwarfism.
Yeah.
And everything that the Barnetts had said in relation to who she was until this stage was a complete and utter lie.
So can they not go to prison for that?
Well, there was a court case. They were found not guilty because the court case was about abandoning a dependent. The dependency was in relation to her dwarfism, not in relation to her age. The courts wouldn't allow evidence in relation to her age to be entered by the prosecution, which meant that Michael Barnett was found not guilty. Christine Barnett, the charges against her were ultimately dropped. But who knows what might occur as a result of the renewed publicity with the release of Good American Family.
Which we've seen happen before with things like Making a Murderer and other true crime series, that these cases get reopened. David, thank you so much.
David.
You're always
Welcome.
so brilliant at explaining these very complex stories. If you want to watch this, it is on tonight. So Good American Family, it's the drama inspired by the allegations in that case. It's available to stream right now on Disney+.
Thank you for
Thanks,
visiting
David.
our
You're
This
welcome.
Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.